Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nedling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome everyone to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. My name is Vicki Nedling and I'm your host. And today we have a wonderful guest. As always, our guests are here to empower you to become a stronger, more confident leader and take your business or your life to the next level. As I mentioned, I have a wonderful guest. His name is Galt, and let me tell you a little bit about Wade. Wade teaches entrepreneurs and professionals to create an abundant and sustainable 3-day weekend lifestyle so they can better enjoy their family, friends, and life. Over the last 20 years, he's helped people create greater impact and income in less time, doing work they do best and enjoy most. He's a 20-plus year software company founder, business growth coach, and author of books on business growth, finance, personal growth, parenting, and spirituality. He and his family have lived oceanside, jealous, in North America and South America. He plays beach volleyball on Fridays and enjoys 3-day weekends with his family and friends. Our theme today is going to be decrease work hours 20% and make 20% more income in 90 days. Please join me in welcoming Wade Galt. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Vicki. I'm really excited to share with your audience. I've been blessed to have a lot of awesome mentors and I've learned a lot, and I'm happy to be here.
I think that's probably one of the life lessons that I learned a couple years ago now when I started doing this. And it kind of falls in line what I learned in my many, many years in the corporate world is mentors are important and coaches are important. And even when you think you know it all, it's always great to have someone else be a sounding board or someone to give you their perspective. So for those of you that don't have a coach, you might want to try to get one. I always start out easy question, which is tell everyone what part of the country or where do you live now, since we see that you live in other places. Where do you call home right now?
Sure. Right now we call home Naples, Florida. We're very blessed to live here. And
so nice there.
Yeah, it's very nice here. And when we're not here, we're usually in Lima, Peru. So my wife's from there and just got back from there over holidays. So sometimes we're in the city. Sometimes we're in a place called La Isla. So yeah, very blessed. That's mainly, we go back and forth from where family is. We usually, we do some traveling, but for the most part, it's usually to see family.
Yep, that's kind of where I am. But I unfortunately, not I shouldn't say it that way, but I go to Pittsburgh instead of Peru.
A little different.
Not quite the same. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. Okay. So which careers or jobs are best suited to create that 3-day work weekend lifestyle?
So years ago, it was very difficult if you were an employee to make this happen. I know I tried a little over 20 years ago with one of the companies I was working with. Awesome company. They're still an awesome company. But I think I was a little ahead of my time because the responses were, well, if we do that with you, we're going to have to do it with everybody else. And a lot of companies are not quite really there yet as far as measuring results. Now, the pandemic pushed a lot of that forward because it wasn't so much the 3-day weekend thing as it was the working from home. Well, can you trust them working from home? And you kind of have to, and how do you do that? So more companies have become focused on results, which of course is what really pays the bills, not so much occupying a chair. And then as an entrepreneur, really an entrepreneur's situation is set up to do this so long as you're making enough income. Now, it depends on your business model. So I happen to have a software company and a coaching company. A coaching company is pretty easy to have even a 3-day work week or a 2-day work week because you just schedule your calls at certain times. A software company, people expect a certain amount of time of tech support. And so there's certain businesses that unless you have a team or you have other people you work with, that it can be harder to do it. But overall, without getting even too caught up on the exact detail of 3-day weekends, although those are awesome, just looking at being able to work an amount of hours where you come in and you're fresh and you're excited to work and you're happy to help people. I've worked quite a few jobs where I got to experience the job with a really high volume of work and then with a extremely reasonable volume. And in all cases, I found, well, gosh, the job's pretty enjoyable. If I just get to talk to people and help people a little bit, and I'm not stressed to meet, all these deadlines, a lot of jobs can be fun. A lot of the times it's the volume. So a lot of it is about, if you're an employee, finding a situation where there is a results focus. And in both situations, earning income in a way that, and spending money in a way where you can afford to live off of 80% of whatever the normal 100% is. And so a lot of people could actually work less hours. They'd be allowed to, but they can't financially afford to do so. So part of it is about finding a job opportunity that will let you do it. Part of it is about being financially in a situation where the math will work.
Yeah, math works. Yeah. I know whenever I was first introduced to working from home concept, it was probably, I don't know, 2010. No, probably even before that, 2006. And it was, I have to be able to see. Some departments would not do it because if I don't see them, they must not be working. And I found, I was in the pilot for it, and I found that I worked harder from home than I did in the office because I didn't have the interruptions, and I'm pretty disciplined. So I found that supporting people around the world, I was on, available 24/7 basically. And I had to really put into my calendar, take a walk, take a break, those things, and learn how to really structure yourself. So how long should it take to create a sustainable 3-day weekend lifestyle?
It really depends where you're coming from. So there's kind of two situations. One, which is where a person says, okay, I'm not yet making the money I need to make. And then it really just becomes a question of, okay, how quickly can you get to, between increasing your income and or reducing your expenses, how quickly can you get to a situation where the amount of money you make is good enough? Once you're there, and let's say you are already there, where you say, okay, wait, I'm making enough money. And this is really either as an employee or as an entrepreneur. Admittedly, as an entrepreneur, because you usually have more control over details, sometimes it can be smoother to do this. But 90 days is not a crazy amount. So if you think about most of what we do, you mentioned that you're more productive when you worked from home than when you worked in the business. And long before I started doing this, I always had this hypothesis when I made my first hire that, if I don't really work 100% of the time fully focused, well, chances are a team member hire is not going to. And the first hire I made was a remote hire. This was in 2005. I made it on monster.com, or 2005, 2006.
I remember.
So this is well before Upwork. This is this. And I was very fortunate. I found somebody that's very high quality. And so I was able to trust her work. And I had some tools where she would report back on the type of work she was doing. It was software tech support. But it really was this sense of, okay, I want you to focus on results. I really don't care specifically the exact hours you work, although we had a framework. And so a lot of it is about getting clear about what would you do with that time. So many entrepreneurs, if you ask them, well, what would you do with a Friday? They say, well, I don't know. Well, that's probably why you don't have that lifestyle. And because think about it, sometimes we'll have a 3-day weekend. We'll have Thanksgiving if you're in the United States, which is a 4-day weekend. And we'll make these things work, or we'll have a vacation and we'll figure out how to get things done. Well, what if you did that every week? And certainly sometimes we kind of figure out things and we didn't really deal with them. We kind of pushed them off till next week. So there is a quantum leap or some sort of sense of productivity that needs to happen better. But overall, the first 20% It's kind of like if you've been eating kind of sloppily and you have not been exercising and you have a goal to lose a certain amount of weight. The first 20% of weight you want to lose is not that difficult. Stop eating the junk food, do a little bit of movement. So the first, for most of us, it's really just about getting focused. And sometimes the tougher part for entrepreneurs, because we are usually focused, is actually stepping back a little and getting enough mental rest to then be able to intelligently see which things that we're doing are not yielding returns for us. So sometimes we could, and I've definitely done projects where I've invested 100, 200, 500, 600 hours in a year, and I get very little income back. And I happen to track my time, so it helps with that. So at the most, a year for most people, because even if you're an employee, if your employer will not facilitate it, and there's a lot of ways you can help them see it, you can say, hey, how do I help you get the results? If we do, I'll just use concept, whether it's widgets, whether it's you cut hair, you sell things, whatever. If you get 40 results in a week and you say, well, what if I got 40 results in 32 hours? Would you care? And a lot of employers would say, well, if you're getting me the same results in 4 days, philosophically, I would pay you to work the 4 days, but I'm not sure. So if we can come up with some sort of conditional basis where if you get the results, great. Or as one of my friends once said, well, wait, if they could get me 6 days worth of results in 4 days, well, then I'd pay them for 5 and let's split the difference. I'll take some of the gains as far as income wise, and they'll take some of the gains time wise. So there's different ways you can do it. The main thing that scares a lot of people right now, if they're an employer, is this whole guarantee that I'm going to guarantee it to you and I'm just going to increase your salary by 25% without any guarantee I'm being looked out for. That's almost irresponsible for a business owner to do, because then if they do it and then it doesn't work, then they have to start laying off people. So it's not so much about there being a money tree and just giving it because you've been holding back on it so long. It is about having a discussion with your employer and saying, how can we work together to make sure your objectives are being met? And how can I get rewarded more for results, which employers love to hear that.
Yeah. You could have someone, if you tell them that you can do it in 32 hours, they'll say, well, then I guess I need to give you more work to do.
And that's probably the wrong person to work for.
Yes.
See, that's the whole thing, because if I say to you, I'm going to be transparent that I can get more results, because there's a risk that goes on here. I'm going to be transparent that I can get more results in less time. And you say, well, then give me more results. Okay, well, what's my reward for that? Well, I just want more. Well, that's not really, again, there are plenty of far more evolved business owners than that, because any business owner that's even remotely evolved understands, or even has been in it for more than 5 years, understands the absolutely just frustratingly painful thing called employee turnover. When you lose a good team member, it just stinks. It's horrible, because you might spend another 3 months, 6 months, 12 months just to get back to where you were a year ago, especially if it's a smaller outfit. If you've got, let's say, 5 to 10 to 20 people, 1 to 2 people being missing is a huge deal. And now you've got to go backwards. You got to retrain. And while you're being retraining, usually it's one of your best team members that's retraining. So there's these huge costs. So the more evolved employers understand, I'd rather pay you 5, 10, 15% more and always keep my best team members unless they have to relocate or something. And even now, that's less of an issue with being able to work remotely. So there are people that get it. There are plenty of people. I'd say at least, and this has not been researched, but from talking around, it's at least got to be 20 to 30 to 40% of employers that understand this, that are very open. So if you're talking to somebody who doesn't get it, I'd suggest keep looking. And certainly, and there is an age demographic to this. If you're talking to somebody who's under, let's say 40, 45, 70, 80% of them get it. Because it's just it's like them, a fish swimming in water. They grow up assuming that. My kids are 16 and 14. They assume that they can work anywhere in the world, work for a company, travel the world while they're like, that's to me, that's like, whoa. To them, that's like, yeah, of course you can do that. So the expectations change and things open up.
That's so true. So how can we work fewer days? And I think we really just have covered this without risking our business, and I think we did kind of cover that, if they understand things, it can be done.
Yeah, it's all about results. And again, most employers want that conversation. What the employer is scared of is having one superstar get results and then losing 8 other team members and saying, well, now it's me and the one superstar trying to take care of. So There's a cultural shift, and
Yeah.
the reason why some companies make shifts slowly is because of this. But again, most companies have financially based incentives. If you hit certain results, you'll make more money.
Right.
So a simple way to start off here for an employer is to say, if you hit certain incentives, you can earn paid time off. Not a guaranteed 4-day work week, but here's how you can earn additional paid time off. Well, okay. And then now, if you don't hit it, you work your 5 days. If you hit
Right.
it, you get your results. So it can be done very safely and very responsibly.
And I know for me, one of the jobs I had was like a one girl Friday kind of thing, did everything there was. And so the first 3 months, it was just trying to figure out what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And then after 3 months, I started to see that I had time, because I got a system in place and a process in place. And so something that took me all day to do now took an hour.
Yep.
And so that would then support the premise that, well, okay, I'm getting everything you need done in 5 days or 3 days. Why do I need to work these two, And maybe that's why so many people also look to a side gig.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how can employees negotiate with their employer this 3-day weekend lifestyle?
First, you need to make yourself irreplaceable. And that's what it really comes down to where you have that leverage, not angry leverage, not confrontational, not hostile leverage, but where you just say, hey, here's what I'd like to do. If you're really that important to somebody's business, they already know that. Make no mistake. They know that. It's not about, again, trying to make a power play, but saying, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to be able to have more time with my family. I'd like to be able to have more free time, this and that. And I'd only like to receive it if I can get certain results. So maybe I know a little bit about the business model as this employee. Maybe I don't. And say, well, what would it look like? I don't need to know all your financials, but what sort of results would you need from me? Where you could say, yeah, I'm now doing 25 to 30 to 40% more results. I'm getting certain things. Like, what does that look like? Because again, to an employer, if I told you, well, I can tell you this from working with employers, when you have that kind of a place and you get one superstar doing it, they have friends and they start telling their friends. So it really is being able to say to that employer, I might not fully understand everything about your business model, but I understand that results drive all of this. I want to be one of those results people. I want to be held accountable results. And if I don't get the results, I have no problem if I don't get the time off. And again, the simplest way to start it is to say, what would a reward system look like? A conditional, and that's the word. If I hit this, yes. So if the simplest version, which sometimes is not always the best, is to say, if I did my 40 tasks, let's just again stick with that concept that 40 tasks is a week's worth of work. If I do my 40 tasks by Thursday, well, then I don't need to show up Friday. At the same time, if I didn't, well, then I finish them. And then now the flip side is if by Friday I didn't get my 40 tasks done, well, then I come in Saturday, right? So it really becomes this results-based situation. And then if I say, well, I want to make more money and I want more free time, well, then again, each of those can be measured. What it requires that is not always present is a business owner who understands how they make money. And many business owners don't. They just know if they sell a certain amount, the bills get paid. And they're maybe they're good salespeople, or maybe they're good at the overall. Doesn't mean they're unintelligent people. They're very intelligent at a piece of their business. And so they just know, I've got to hit these numbers. Then even still, great, speak to them in those numbers. If we hit these numbers, is that something that could be worked on? Because once you're irreplaceable, they kind of have to figure it out. And if they don't, well, then you go somewhere else. There are plenty of people looking for really good people right now. There's never been, and I'm aware of, more opportunity to design your job opportunity, at least since I've been alive.
So how can I scale, if I'm a business owner, my business, and still have time for family, for friends, to play beach volleyball, go to Peru? How can I do that?
A lot of it is kind of an order of operations thing. So if you remember from math, when we learned in grade school, whatever year it was, there's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses, exponent, sec. There's a sequence of how you do things. And I'll give you an example. If you are always 2 days early with your credit card payment, and you have one of those credit cards that pays you 1 to 2% cash back or whatever, you're winning. You're getting
Mhm.
2%. You're
Mhm.
paying off your stuff. You're almost gaming the system. They're still making money, otherwise they wouldn't do it.
Right.
But you're doing great. Now be 2 days late. All of a sudden,
Mm.
you are getting whacked every time you're
Yeah.
paying 20, 30% interest. So similarly, a lot of people, what they want to do is they want to scale before they've gotten efficient. They want to put a big boat, a big motor on the boat, and the boat's got holes in it. Well, if you do that, you just might break the boat. You
I
got to
was
fix your
thinking,
holes first.
yeah.
You got to get tight. So I would just say to people, first you have to get to the income you need. In other words, if you want to, whether it's as an employee or an entrepreneur, so if you keep your expenses reasonable and you get to your income, that's objective number one. Once you've done that, then rather than trying to figure out how do I make more net income per se, it's how do I make the same amount of income in less time, which of course is kind of potato, but you start getting intentional. Okay, what would I do that time? And
Mhm.
the second thing is, once you've made your target income, the second thing is then set up your target lifestyle. Make that your default. Make that something that happens ongoing just about every week. So some weeks, like this week, it's pretty cold for Florida. We're in the 30s, so we missed a day, boohoo, of volleyball because it was too cold. Okay, well, next week it'll probably be warmer. That's okay. Versus, oh my gosh, Wade, my default week is chaotic, it's hectic. I'm working 60 hours a week. Maybe in 5 months from now, I'm going to take a 2-week vacation and hope that it fixes my whole year. Well, it's probably not good. And then there's all that
Mhm.
pressure on that vacation to be just epic in
And
every
it
single
won't be.
way,
Yeah.
and it won't be. And
No.
it'll be good. And so if you can get that situation where you say, okay, so first I get my target income within my lifestyle. Second, I get as close to my lifestyle as possible. Then I scale.
Mhm.
And as I'm scaling, I hold to my hours. Now, it's not even so much holding to your hours per se as it is to what you do with those hours. So for me, family, beach volleyball, the different things I do, if I get those done, I might on a certain day, like some days my kids will have no school on a Friday. And as they're getting older, I won't have anything to do. Maybe my wife's somewhere. And for me, I'm not going to just watch TV. I'm not going to waste away my 3 days.
Right.
So sometimes on a Friday, I'm done with my stuff and I already played my volleyball. I don't have any more energy. I can't play anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll get some work done. Not the end. I didn't sacrifice my day.
Exactly.
It's not a
Yeah.
dogma. Um, but overall, you have to have an idea of, again, what you would do with that. But bottom line, you get to that lifestyle first and you scale that. So you're always those 2 days ahead on your payment. You're
Yeah.
always plugging the holes on the boat and then adding the motor rather than doing it first,
And
because there is no amount of income. Sorry, real quick. There's no amount of income that's going to buy back that time for
right.
you.
And as you were talking, it just made me think of, a lot of times people in preparation for that 2-week vacation, 1-week vacation, they do get all that work done in 3 days or 4 days so that they can get on their vacation. And they have worked so hard in those days. Then the first 2 days of their vacation, they're just like exhausted and they can't really enjoy it. And then just as they get used to the vacation mode, it's time to go back to work. And now the first 3 days they get back to work, they're still in that vacation mode. And so they're not as productive. So if you would just have it that the normal pace of yours is that you have that time to refresh the 3 days or whatnot, you will be a better employee for your your employer, because you have that normal cadence. And when you do get a vacation, you're not overworked or overwhelmed.
Yeah, and if you're an entrepreneur, you'll get better results. And just overall, to your point, it's really about deciding, where do I want my free time? Do I want my free time as little water cooler breaks within my job, or do I want my free time outside of my job? Because to most employers, if you get the job done, and if I needed 40 results done and you got them and you demonstrate that month after month after month after month, I'm fine with that, because again, I don't want to lose you. I want the result. I'm less concerned. So yeah, absolutely, putting it to where it's something that happens consistently, and that life outside of work becomes more creative, more innovative, more fun, more enjoyable. And work can be awesome, but most of what we find happens that's life changing. We even ask our clients when we do a coaching program, and anywhere from 70 to 90% of people's most memorable and most positive, influential life experiences happen outside
Of course, yeah. So it's time for rapid fire, and these are just some questions that you can answer top of mind. And if there are things that we need to go into more detail, we just have another podcast.
Sure.
So what was the most effective way that you found to build a team of high quality freelancers?
Look to sites like Upwork or Online Jobs PH or even Fiverr, and bottom line, invest in the future of your freelancer. So a lot of people say, I'm just looking for a gig. I'm looking for somebody to do a job and I'm going to move on. When I'm recruiting a freelancer, I'm looking to talk to them. What's their career path? What are they looking to do? Oh, you're on your way up. Great. I want to catch you on the way up. I want to help you grow. You help me grow. So I'm already looking to operate with them as a partner, not just as you're my help and I own you and I kick you to the side when I'm done with you.
Awesome. How can I best align my spiritual and family values with my work?
Understand that it is very possible to live your highest values, whatever they look like, in your work. And it might not look exactly like you think it is. It might not be, helping the poor and making $10 million, but you could possibly do both. And certainly there are ways where you can focus on, just like you can put your lifestyle first, you can put your values first and make sure that whatever companies you work on, whatever projects you work on, at the very least, you bring your intention of being soulful, being spiritual, serving to that. You can be soulful as an accountant. You can be soulful as a coach. You can be soulful as a person that makes food. It really just all depends what you bring to it.
Awesome. Should people do what they love for a living or do their soul work as a hobby?
Depends. Some people figure out how to do both. I would simply say the more important answer to that question is make sure you're doing your soul work, whether you get paid zero for it or whether you get paid for it. Make sure that if you love creating, in my case, beach volleyball is one of those things. Now, I also believe that raising children is one of those things. So sometimes people will say, your soul work is what you would do if you got paid all the money in the world. And my experience is, no, I didn't get paid to wake up and change our kids. But that's soulful. That's important to me. So make sure you're doing that. If you're fortunate, and I don't even say if you're fortunate, because some people, I like that they're slightly separate, that I can go in sometimes in my software and be like, this software will make you money. Boom, buy my stuff, or I think you're an idiot. Versus some other things, it's a softer approach. It really depends on where you're coming.
And I'm there with you, taking care of my grandboys or some of my charity work. It's a different muscle that's exercised, and I think it makes you a better person.
Absolutely.
So why do so many people fail to make time for family, friends, and life?
Lack of creativity and fear that they can't do it. So again, if you are an entrepreneur and you have nothing scheduled for Friday, and Friday morning rolls around, and you've even completed your work, you hit all your 40 results or whatever it is, and you come in Friday morning and you have nothing fun with your family, your friends, your hobbies, and nothing scheduled, you're going to wake up and you're going to say, well, I can either do nothing today, which if you're an entrepreneur, you're not used to doing nothing. Even in your personal life, you're used to doing something, or I can go to work. And the better answer is going to be, well, then you should go to work. So it has to be planned out the same way that people talk about the idea of people will plan, put more energy into planning the wedding than the marriage. It's the same thing. People, we put so much into planning our work, we don't as much plan our life outside of work, or we'll plan the vacation, but not the other 50 weeks of the year. So it's about being intentional. So you're excited to finish, to push through, to get the work done on the Thursday or whatever the day is for you, so that you're ready on, to extend that weekend.
I know as I look at some of my family friends, as the years have gone by, there was such a focus and a desire to have their kids understand every minute of the day is fulfilled with some activity, something. And then when you ask the child to just hang or just do nothing, they were so uncomfortable.
Yes.
And so for me, it was always, I need for you to understand that it's okay sometimes to just lay in the grass and look at the sky and the clouds and things like that, to appreciate that freedom to work or not work.
Yeah, that ability to understand that you have value, whether you're creating a result or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last one is, what do you wish you knew when you were just starting out, yesterday?
I would say that I wish I knew I could have done this earlier, because I know it can be done earlier. I didn't really consciously choose this till about 7 or 8 years ago, which is about 20 something years, 22 years after I'd left the corporate world, or left college. So I think it's one of those things you choose. If you the same way you wouldn't tolerate not receiving a raise in a job after more than a couple years financially. Well, but why do we tolerate no raises paid time off wise? Well,
Yeah,
that's something for us to look at.
absolutely. Such good things to be thinking about as people ponder this podcast. All right, I'm going to share my screen. So as I always say, if you are just listening and you have not got a paper and pencil, I'm so sad that you missed all those great nuggets that Wade gave to you, but get one now, because I'm going to give you his contact information and you can go back and check out his website and his social media. So here we go. All right, so you can go to his website, which is https://www.3dayweekendclub.com. That's 3, the number, DAYWEEKENDCLUB.com. Again, 3dayweekend.com. He's on social media using that same 3-Day Weekend Entrepreneur. And so that's for Facebook, Instagram. He's on LinkedIn as Wade Galt, his name. Twitter is 3-Day Weekend Club, and TikTok is at 3-Day Weekend Entrepreneur. I'm going to let him talk to you about a gift that he has for you that are listening today.
Sure. Thank you so much, Vicki. So we have a place called 3-Day Weekend Club, and in that there are actually 2 courses. I should have mentioned that. The 3-Day Weekend Game Plan and the 3-Day Weekend Apprentice course, which are all about following the habits of 3-Day Weekend entrepreneurs, what they do and how they invest their time outside of work, their money, their relationships. That's the apprentice part. And then the 3-Day Weekend Game Plan is to specifically create, what is your plan? What does that plan look like? And how do you fund it? And this is something that I found is an accelerator to get people moving more quickly, because it's not that difficult. Once you've decided that you want to do this, it's just an equation. How do I make enough money? It might take a while to get there, but coming up with the equation, coming up with the overall plan is really not that difficult. And then that's what can inspire you then to make the different financial decisions. The same way, if somebody says, well, are you going to save for your retirement? You say, well, that's 50 bazillion years away. I'm not going to do anything, versus somebody that can tell you, oh, hey, but if you do it now, here's what can happen. And compound interest, you can get there quicker. Similarly, if you can see and you can visualize what you'd be doing with your time outside of work, then putting together the plan to make it happen makes it happen a lot quicker. So all of those are available at 3dayweekendclub.com.
Awesome. So everybody needs to take advantage and go to 3dayweekendclub.com to be able to grab these wonderful courses. Well, Wade, it has been wonderful having you on. You gave us so many great things to think about. And for me, brought back many memories of my early days in corporate and the things that, you went, maybe no. But it's been just such a pleasure. So I encourage everybody to go to that 3dayweekendclub.com or check out his social media. Be sure to let him know what you thought about the podcast, as well as get those courses so that you can be on your journey to being more close to your family, your friends, and living the life that you desire. So thank you so much. As always, I remind our listeners that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Nettling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nettling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.